Hello everyone, my name is Strange, and I believe that people should know the truth. You often ask me to tell you the secret details of Zone 51. The video that we have already released, the link to it is just now hanging on the top of the screen, has made a lot of noise. All this time I was looking for new secret documents. My agents analyzed hundreds, if not thousands of different documents, in order to understand where the truth is and where the fiction is. But now I am finally ready to publish the terrible documents regarding the real activities of the Zone 51 object. Attention! What you see may shock you, so if you are not ready, then it is better to close the video and continue to live your normal life. In the dark! For the safety of my source, all names have been changed, and the documents have been given an artistic color. And so, I'm starting. The crowd cluttered the whole avenue, motley, faceless, and multifaceted at the same time, aggressive, demanding. In some places, more restrained islands arose, consisting of young people dressed up as hippies and elderly people, mostly grandmothers with long gray hair from environmental organizations and the same hippie movement and protest associations against any wars. A sturdy-looking grandfather with a mustache as thick as two braids and the same beard appeared in front of the camera. We are not asking, we are finally demanding, and we have the right to do so. The supremacy of the laws of democracy and a free society. Our government has no right to organize any underground bases in the United States for taxpayers' money. A young reporter girl who had previously felt uncomfortable filming the raging crowd began to feel a little more confident listening to the measured speech of the old man. "Don't you think it's for our common safety?" The grandfather grinned. Someone shouted behind his back, "If the authorities do not give us the alien, we will take it ourselves." And the grandfather himself continued, "I do not think at all. I am a former military man myself, and I know perfectly well the strength and capabilities of our army. We will wring the neck of any aggressor, as it was with Milosevic, Hussein, and others. We demand to make public the actions that are being carried out in the Area 51. The grandfather raised his hand with a clenched fist up, and his gesture was answered by a polyphony, gaining strength and chanting. "Zone 51, Zone 51, Zone 51. Against the background of a single shout, it was heard. "Nevada is here for you, not Washington. Let the delegates inside the zone." The head of the internal and external guard post sat at the central console, viewed images from surveillance cameras, fixed his gaze on any circumstances deviating from the norm, analyzed them, and, having made a decision about security, looked away. Out of the corner of his eye, he watched reports from various cities in the United States, including Las Vegas. People went berserk and demanded to release secret protocols and research conducted or still being conducted in Area 51. Oh, and that jerk is there too. The chief saw the commander of the National Guard's operational headquarters climb onto the makeshift platform perched on Bradley's armored vehicle. "Citizens, in the person of the leadership of the state of Nevada, I want to welcome you." Loud and aggressive voices rang out from the crowd. "Fuck you, you racist pig! Grab him, guys! We all know about your fucked up Area 51. Immediately, a man was slowly, as gently as possible, but compulsively led out of the crowd, with a blanket thrown over him, and a black man's hand covered with blisters, scabs, and whitish purulent spots poked out from under the blanket. "Here, Noah, he told us everything. We know all about the experiments on people inside the zone." Suddenly, a bottle flew out of the crowd towards the armored car, so far just with half-finished beer. Another one, and another. Two brave soldiers jumped onto the platform and dragged the commander of the National Guard with them. An armored vehicle began to deploy a machine gun turret, breaking the wooden flooring. The crowd quieted down a bit, retreated back, and the armored car began to move away from the central avenue towards the alley. The main posts were not removed. The phone rang on the central console. The head of the guard service turned down the volume of the TV and picked up the receiver. "Central Control, I'm listening." "Yes, I saw it. I don't think anything, but the situation is heating up. Apparently, competent provocateurs are working in the crowd. That's right, we'll prepare everything in 24 hours. How long? That's right, we'll try to make it in 12 hours. The head of the guard service hung up the phone, but immediately picked it up and dialed the intercom number. "Ponker, gather all the commanders and heads of structural units in the second-level conference room right now for all about 10 minutes. "What? I don't care what he says. I am responsible for security. Grab by force and drag into the conference room. Do not announce anything to the staff. Let them work for now. Do it. With a 5-minute delay, 7 people were sitting at a table in the second-level conference room, a small room for operational and secret meetings. Some of them were dressed in medical coats, a couple of people in black robes. The head of the guard service stood at the head of the long table. Gentlemen, I am Mr. Johansson. You all know me very well. I am responsible for the security of all projects and Area 51 as a whole. An order has been received based on an analysis of intelligence data. It is necessary to prepare the base for evacuation, and in case it is impossible to eliminate all documentation and experimental results. This is an order from the center. Natchkar Johansson raised a finger above his head. One scientist stepped forward and immediately introduced himself, speaking with restraint and looking at Johansson. There are more than 500 staff members in my laboratory. Breakthrough research is currently underway. How do you order to evacuate? Immediately, the rest of the scientists raised their voices, got up from their seats, began to shout and wave their arms. Only the technicians were silent. What did they care? They collected all the prototypes in boxes and transported them, but it was more difficult for scientists. But nothing. Natchkar was smiling, but at the moment his eyes turned cold. He took out his service pistol from his belt holster and emptied almost the entire clip into the concrete ceiling. This calmed everyone down. Didn't I tell you that the evacuation order is supervised at the very top? It takes 10 hours to prepare. The cars and special boards will be delivered in 5 hours. Johansson looked at one of their technicians, who was wearing a black robe. What about the runway and the helipad? The technician nodded his head. Are they working normally? What kind of traffic is planned? It will take at least 4 cargo Chinooks to evacuate the entire base. In addition, people... Your task is to ensure efficiency, and everything else is not your concern. I provide security for the external and internal perimeters, accompanying the general evacuation process. The first report is in 6 hours. Get to work. 20 minutes later, the scientists dispersed to their sectors, and the head of the guard service returned to the central post, turned on the TV again. On the screen, some little-known military man, a small fry from the Air Force, was shaking hands with a representative of a contact group formed from the most rabid participants of the rally. There was an old man nearby who was giving an interview to a reporter girl, and the same reporter girl was reciting. At the moment, a preliminary agreement has been reached, and a group of delegates headed by a representative of the contact group will visit the notorious Zone 51. Is the government, which has been silent for so many years, finally ready to reveal the secret of Area 51? The visit is scheduled in 13 hours from the moment of reaching an agreement. Sandra Morfes was with you, CNN. Natchkar turned off the TV and looked at the internal surveillance monitors. The scientists hurried up, gave their people some commands. It was clear from the gestures of their hands that some of them were shouting, did not know what to grab, but generally correctly perceived the task. The unit for the preparation of live drugs was working normally. The test subjects were lying on tables. Some of them were in flasks filled with formaldehyde. The drugs were, simply put, living people, to whom they repeatedly tried to plant the genes of aliens, living and inanimate, brought here from all over the United States. Several individuals were brought from Europe. Scientists injected drugs into an artificial coma and overloaded them into autonomous life support devices, special flask modules that could be transported. The young doctor ran up to the head of the group. Mr. Soito, there are only 20 modules and 36 subjects. What should I do? Prepare the drugs at the research completion stage. Prepare the rest for disposal. I'll report to the head of the guard service. Let him deal with it. It's his job. Give me a list of the most suitable drugs in 15 minutes. Activate the injection machine, wait for the flasks with the drug to be completely emptied, then turn on the Freon spraying device. Wait for the control 5 minutes, stimulate the current, and if there is no response, prepare the hybrid for shipment. Is everything clear? A young scientist with awkward glasses, lopsided ears, jerkily nodded his head. He was afraid of this place, afraid of the hybrid in the huge glass cube, afraid of the boss. But somehow he managed to become an assistant during the tests, was in a position and received a hefty salary. The hybrid was under the influence of powerful drugs. A bony reptilian body rested at the bottom of a glass cube, occasionally tossing its oblong head, hissing and making clicking sounds. The hybrid was the first prototype developed through genetic engineering. The genes of a reptilian alien creature were introduced to a female monitor lizard, which was able to give offspring. The hybrid was intelligent and carnivorous. He often looked with yellow crocodile eyes at the assistant, a young, lop-eared scientist, and sweetly licked his bloodthirsty mouth. That's what he did this time. By an absurd coincidence, the injection treatment button and the cubic chamber depressurization button were located nearby on the control console. The young scientist, depressed by the unblinking gaze of the hybrid, pressed the depressurization button. The head of the guard service listened to the scream into the phone and pulled the collar away from his sweaty neck. The hair stood on end. Amid the screams of pain and horror, someone was yelling into the phone. "The Central Laboratory of Hybridization! Help! The individual has broken free! Help!" The voice ended in a cry of pain. The head of the guard saw on the monitor how a hefty 200-kilogram individual was scattering scientists, grabbing them with clawed paws, squeezing. One of them, some kind of lop-eared dystrophic, the individual simply tore off his head. It was necessary to act immediately. Natchkar pulled up the intercom microphone and the internal transition control console. Having typed in the combination, he tightly closed the research department with a steel hermetic door. But it was too late. The individual was already in the corridor. First and second isolation squads. Combat alert. Prepare heavy weapons. Block off shoot 5. The research base itself was a huge fortification consisting of a central circle divided into various support services and laboratories and research facilities branched off from the central circle with ray corridors. Each corridor was blocked automatically. The head of the guard made a decision that seemed right to him, to activate automatic flamethrower installations that would simply flood the entire room with a river of burning napalm, destroying people along with the individual. People, therefore, were non-survivors. The last thing Natchkar Johansson saw on the monitor, the surveillance plunged him into a stupor. A hefty reptilian creature stood in front of the Hermod Veri and poked with the fingers of the severed hand of the head of the laboratory at the touch panel of the door, trying to open it. The lock was triggered by touching the sensor with a hand, reading fingerprints and palm prints. The creature knew this and tried to use it. In the next instant, a solid wall of fire destroyed everything in the room. The image transmission also stopped. The camera could not withstand the temperature. An hour after the appointed time, the delegation's contact group entered the territory of Base 51. The group was accompanied by reporters from all central TV channels. The group was shown ground workshops for aircraft repair, administrative and technical facilities. Even underground shelters were opened in case of nuclear war, but no one saw anything except concrete walls and outdated communication consoles. A day later, crowds of protesters began to leave the squares and avenues of the cities of the state. The secret was revealed, and the citizens of the United States calmed down. If you think that this is not proof of the existence of aliens, then you are right. There is much more evidence, and on our channel we will reveal all the secrets and evidence of their presence. Subscribe to the channel and send me your stories related to aliens by email. You will find contacts in the About the Channel section. If I haven't answered you, then I'm still checking on you, because the special services of all countries have announced a hunt for me. But together we will force the authorities to disclose all the information they have. After all, people should know the truth.